Hi, we are now working on the first signature for page 1 inside your album. So it will be this signature. So I'm using the base page with the Christmas elements, Christmas trees, for my base. The reverse side is this wood grain pattern. Now, this page across here is going to measure at 8 1/8, and then it's 8 3/8 in the height. So that should become our standard measurement throughout the page builds. Now I say should, I might change it up depending upon the type of element that I want to put in. I gotta write this down on a separate piece of paper. All right. Now we played with earlier a piece of paper on the reverse side. I think was all clouds, but it was the bottom half to the tree, to the sheet, the 12 by 12 sheet that had the houses. So it was the bottom half. Well, I'm going to make that into a pocket because I think that is such a cute element. So my bottom pocket is going to go like so. And then I've already put on my die, and then we're going to run a bit of red bling across the top. Now, in your bag of bronze goodies, we have a little teddy bear that I went ahead and glued on early so that it would be done for this build. And then I also took some Wink Estella to the 2 trees and to the clouds. I don't know if you can see that or not. But I thought that that would be a nice enhancement to that as an element. Now this piece, not counting the die, is at 3 3/4. So 3 3/4 by 8 3/8. That's our width. And I made this pocket to accommodate this piece, but I think I trimmed a little bit off the bottom just to be sure. This ended up being almost, not quite 3 5/8, just a hair. It's in between the two. I don't do dinky measurements. I hate them. So I apologize if I can't give you that 1/16 of an increment, but it's in between 8 1/2 and 8 5/8. So you can trim this so that you're either at 8 1/2 or 8 5/8. Would probably be a lot easier. If I had thought about it, I would have done so. Okay. I was so focused on other things that I didn't consider that. So now we're going to put in this red bling. And I'm just going to come in just a hair off the end so as not to create too much bulk on the hinge. And so this is going to get trimmed in there. I'm wondering, I'm just kind of taking a thought here. Oh, that might be a nice thing to do with some of these extra red pieces. Just put them here in the center of the gear. But I'm going to trim off some of this excess mesh. And I'm going to put a dab of glue right there. And then I'm going to try and lay that down there. And I'll get it centered before I flatten it out. There we go. Ah, that added another nice little element. So take all these off. Make sure that didn't move. I want to make sure that end is burnished. There we go. Okay, so now we have that piece in. So it's a nice deep pocket. It will hold some of those bigger items. So let's go and we're going to have 2 flaps on this. This flap, and I think I kind of cut them the same, almost, is right at, okay, so I'm doing one of those crazy measurements, I don't know why, but either go 4 and, let's just cut this down to 4 5/8 by your 8 1/8. And then you're going to have a 1/2 inch score. And let's just double check the measurement for this other side. Uh, 4 5/8. This one's right on the money. 4 5/8 by 8 1/8. Okay. Now on the inside, I'm using the darker, one side's light and then the other side's darker. So that's what I'm using in here. I'm going to go ahead and glue this on. Once I get this glued, I'm going to kind of revisit something here in just a second. Now, these don't come together. For me, it was intentional. But if you want these to come together, you're just going to need to make your width here cut accordingly. You add probably 1/16 of an inch to each side, and then they'll come together. I didn't want mine to do that. I I wanted there to be an opening, a visible opening. I know that sounds kind of crazy, but all right, so now on these two panels, I'm going to work on this one first because it's easier for me to see. We're going to cut a piece of cardstock. I might have to trim this down. I'm going to have to trim mine down a little bit because here's my score, and you can see that this comes well into it, and that is not going to allow this to close properly. So let me put that just next to it. I'm going to take just another tiny hair off so that it's even flush with the edge. There we go. Okay, and I put a 1/2 inch bead of tape down the center, and then looked into my scraps and found this piece. You can use whatever piece you have out of the scraps that you have, but I thought it would be kind of cute. The little teddy bear heads right here. And then I'm going to put some bling, and I'm having to do it in a couple of small strips. I think I'm going to go ahead and add this now. And then let's see, let's do this longer piece. Staying again off that edge because it's going to be right there. And then what you have here is a tuck from the top, and believe it or not, from the bottom. They're tight, so things aren't going to fall out of them. And eventually I will find something, an embellishment to put right here, but right now I'm not going to worry about it. Okay, so let's move over to this side, and we're going to do the same thing. And then this was another, these came out of my scraps. The reverse side is that wood or bronze piece. Brown paper bag piece is what I think it was. It was on the back of the album. Oops, you know what? I should not have done that. Nope, that one's cut cleanly, so let's try and get this back on before that glue dries up. Come here. Just a thin strip of tape. Oops, that shifted. not have laid that down there. I'm such a ding. Okay, so let's try and get this so that it's somewhat on the same. Okay, I think that will work. Like I said, I'm thinking about finding something to put here, but I can deal with that later. All right, this side here. (12x12) sheet. We're going to use this piece here, and then I'm taking 2 of the snow globes. I've mounted them onto cardstock. I've ran tape across the base. Well, I didn't do it on that one. And I'm going to just create some tucks here, still leaving you with plenty of room to put in a permanent photo up at the top. The reverse side is all the little Christmas gifts or trinkets, ornaments. I'm trying to think of what the other word is for them. So you can use whichever ones you want. I chose Happy Holidays and Joyful Season. All right. Now we are going to work on our outside panels. So this panel without the trim is at 6 1/8 by your 8 1/8. And then we have a 1/2 inch and a 5/8 of an inch score line. We're going to use this gusset to wrap around the page that we've already finished building. Or I should say the flap. Push back on this just a hair to re-encourage that. All right, our left side is going to measure at 7 3/8 by your 8 1/8. And again, you're going to have a 1/2 inch score and you're going to have a 5/8 of an inch score. I want that to wrap around there, so I'm just going to kind of hold it in place. Let me even this out just a smidge, and over it goes. Okay, well that gusset's standing up nice and tall. Okay, magnets. this off, and we're going to stick the magnet under your left panel. We're going to do this about 1 inch in, and then we're going to take and close the panel. Make sure your gussets are staying flat on the end and that your top and bottom is lined up, that you're not askew. And then we're going to just gently slide that off. I'm going to add a little bit of tape. All right, so now let's play with this inside panel. Okay, I'm playing with the holly piece. And you're gonna cut this side first. The reason being is your leftover piece that fits over here will be short. So we're going to create a little bit of a pocket over here to hide that shortage. Now, if you want to flip this, that's entirely fine. You can cut this piece first, then fit the rest of it here, and then move the pocket over here to this page if you want a little extra room. That's entirely up to you. Now, I am taking the chipboard piece, which has the little buildings, and I am taping the left side and a little bit here in this corner just to kind of hold it in place, and that's going to go right there. And then I cut out off of the gears page this embellishment, and we're just going to stick this right up here so that now you've got a nice tuck. You can still put some photos in here. And then over here, and because I had already cut mine this way, you can see I'm off about 1/4 inch. So I'm going to create a pocket on this side. And we're going to add some bling on this side. So let's get started here. I had to check to make sure I didn't forget my magnets. Is there a right and a wrong way to this? I don't know which way. Is this the way music goes? Or it doesn't. The holly look. I don't know that it matters to me, really, to be honest. I'm just going to put this down. I can't read music. That's my excuse. Well, that's not my excuse, it's the truth. So I don't know which way the notes go, so I suppose I should look at the other sheet that's in the collection that I haven't unopened yet and see which way they have laid the notes. That might be a good idea. So I'm just going to come just to the inside of that score line because I don't want this interfering. And now I've laid this cockeyed. Let's see if I can get this up so I can readjust it just a little bit. Oh, that's better. It'll stick by the time I'm done. I'm not too worried about it. Put a little bit of bling here. I don't think I'll add anything to this. Is this going to be the right one? It will work. Okay, so now let's go over here, and on this side we're going to tape. Oh, look at, oh, I see which way it goes. There's a number 5, a number 5, a number 3. Number 3, so those are going in the correct direction. I don't know if that's the case on all sheets of music because I've never noticed those before. Concerned about not encroaching on that score line, so I'm going to start here, line it up, and then lay it down. Now, I might rethink this, because here's my magnet. If I tack this down, just, oh, I thought that was, okay. Let me just do this. I don't want this to interfere with this closing. Nope, it doesn't. Okay. So I'm going to go ahead and commit this, but by using tape versus glue, if this becomes a hindrance to this magnet, I'll be able to remove it and apply something else. So again, I just ran tape along this edge. I want that to be secure, and then just a little bit here so that when you come in here with a card or a photo, this just becomes a nice little tuck and things aren't going to fall out. But you still have room to put a decent size photo and use the tuck. Now, having said that, if you don't want to cover this up, or if you don't want to use this, that's fine, but I'm going to. Okay, so that is so far what we have for the inside. Now let's play with the outside. All right, so now, hold on just a second. I want to get into something. I'm going to dig into this other packet of the core paper so I can show you something. Okay, so this is the piece we're going to play with. What I cut out first was this piece. So if I line this up, I'm right here about through the center of where that star is, and then I'm cutting across the bottom. Hold on to this piece because we're going, maybe you can't even see that. So we're going to cut about here. I'll give you some measurements, but I just want to give you a visual. We're going to cut about through the center of that star across, and then we're going to come up here to that star. You're going to have this piece and then this piece. Save this piece because we're going to fussy cut this later as an element for the signature that's coming up next. But I wanted to show you this so you could see how it was that I cut this. So, having said that, there's this piece. There's the door, and I'll go into detail on that just in a little bit. And then there is this side, and we have the mouse. Now, that magnet, wrong side, here we go. That magnet might create a problem where it's sitting. I might have to move that after all because I didn't take this dude into consideration. It's not going to connect. So what I'm going to do here real quick, I should have done this to begin with so that you're not doing this. I apologize if you have to take undo to undo this, but I'm going to move this magnet up a little bit so I don't have to tear this entire panel apart. So I'm just going to move this up a little bit so that I have a contact. I can't move it any farther over, I don't believe, because I don't have room on this panel. Okay, so here is a good reason why you would think that I could think ahead on this stuff. I'm just envisioning. I'm not problem solving, and I so apologize. Okay, let's get this. This should be coming off of here. It'd be a little bit more flexible if that's not on there. Okay, so now I want to take this magnet. Now I'm going to move this magnet up a little bit. I'm not going to quite tack that down until I get this moved. So I'm bringing it over here. I'm going to come over and then I'm going to stick it down right there, and then I got this hump. So I'm seriously thinking about putting another one down here in this corner, and I think I will. I would rather have it down here in the corner. So what I want to do is I want to do this one here first. That way there's good coverage for the magnets on this signature. Problem solving. Okay, so I've got good contact. Now there's tape right where that is, so I'm not worried about it. Now I'm going to put this back in place. Darn. Let's see what happens. Good contact. So I'm going to leave everything right where it is. And we're going to go ahead and tape this down. Now, when I fussy cut out Mr. Mouse, I did back him on some red cardstock, and then I ran some foam tape on the underside so that he would stand up off the page a little bit. And then I'm going to glue all the way around here so that I've got good contact with this piece that's been trimmed. I don't want it tearing, I don't want it lifting, I don't want you to be able to see underneath of it. Pull this down just a little bit. And we're going to finish adhering this. And I do need to cut a string of bling. We're going to add this right here. And because I know I'm going to have to cut some of this off, I'm going to start up here at the top. Then we're going to peel all the strips off the back of this foam. This is not tearing very easily. Okay, and then we're going to put Mr. Mouse right back where he was. Now, as I stated earlier, fingers This would have been a good place, this right here. Excuse me. Right here to have either trimmed through here or trimmed through here. Come up here and then use your fine point scissors and trimmed around. And then again, I burnish because you get lifted edges when you cut and trim. Push them back down, and then you will hide most of that seam. Where you might see it is right here. And if anyone's going to look at it that close to see that seam, well, I don't know what to say to that. All right, now I cut this piece out, Joyful Season, and I can't put it on because I've got a magnet right there. Dad blast it. We're just going to leave Mr. Mouse the way it is. I'm not digging into that anymore. I'm going to go ahead and put my tree over here. Now the door. So what I did is that I cut this door out. So I traced it, trimmed it out, and I stuck 2 little tiny tags. These are going to tuck up underneath here so that you can open the door, and you can either, I'm putting this behind the door so you can either see the sentiment Merry Christmas, or you can flip this and write your own sentiment, which is what I'm going to do, because if somebody purchases this, then they can come in here and they can make a nice well-wish to their loved one. Hold on just a second. I so apologize. Fall allergies are almost as bad as spring allergies. So can I put this? I want to use this. Can I put this up here? Nah, I don't want to do that. All right. So first off, what I want to do is I want to get this situated on the back side of this. I'm going to turn this over. And then I'm going to run a strip of tape through here to hold it in place. And then I'm going to take and I'm going to glue these 2 pieces, and I'm going to tuck them. And where I placed them, and I placed this one I think a little low, but I'm not quite convinced on that yet. I placed this one right here at this hinge. And then I took one of the elements that I happen to have in my stash to create kind of a little door handle so that you can open this up and see the sentiment inside. Okay. Slip it right back in place. And then this will open up like so. Now, I don't know if I should glue that so it doesn't slide around on me. Now, what I'm not sure of is whether, and I'm going to use one of these other magnets that I have. I don't know if, because I don't want to have a mismatched pair, and if this works, I don't want to have a mismatched pair in my basic gray. So let's see if I flatten that down. It will work. So it is got a light contact with something. want that sliding. Okay, so if you have an extra magnet, and if your item is magnetized, and it might just be these prongs, then it will help to keep the door closed. Okay, so let's go ahead, and I'm going to, I'll use this someplace. I just did not think that through very well with the raised image there. My fault, I'm sorry. Okay, set that down. All right, now we're going to add our red bling. Nice good bead of it. And then we're going to cut the last 3 off. Okay, so, you know, I could use some undo and strip this off of there and then set that back down there. I'll think about that. I might come back and do that. And then I'm thinking about adding some embellishment here. I don't know, is there something real quick we can look at in here? These are all fairly big items that are left in here. There's a bow, a big bow. There's a small bow. We have some of these gear-like, I'm not sure where those were supposed to go, so let's see here. I'll quit my little scavenger hunt here real quick. All right, so I can either put that there, or I can put the big bow and a little bow. I think it adds color. That's what I'm going to do. Too bad I didn't have the same size bows. There, that kind of dressed those up a little bit. All right, let's get our tape on the back side of the album. I'm going to cap off my glue here real quick. It's wanting to dry. right, let's get this mounted. Bringing this gusset right to the end, it leaves me plenty of turning room right here. So speaking of turn, I'm going to turn it now. I do that because it allows me to see 3 of the 4 edges when I'm putting this in. So I can see the end, so I know that I'm lining up, and then I can see my sides, and then that last edge here will just, it falls right into place where it's going to fall into place at. So I want to go ahead and get this tape pulled. I want to make sure that this gusset is going to, it wants to, I can't get a hold of it. There we go. There we go. Now I'm going to turn it upside down so I can get to the other pieces. And if this is your first album with me, why, you ask, do I not take all the tape off? That's because I have laid things down the wrong angle, and then I've had to use a whole lot of undo to get a whole lot of tape off. I'm making sure that gusset's laying straight, so I just work it that way. Okie dokie. So, there we go. Nice click contact. There we're done. I'll see you on the next build. Bye-bye.